Do you know about the first cyclist who used EPO as doping? After using EPO, did he win or not? Was it worth it? You want to know everything about EPO doping? Don't worry, Cycling Right Now is here for you. So let's get started and know everything in detail. Steven Rooks, who finished second behind Pedro Delgado in the 1988 Tour de France, has revealed that he used the banned blood enhancer EPO during his career in a book titled Het Laatste, geel, The Final Yellow, published by a Dutch journalist named Marc Smeets, and stated that he used EPO after 1989. Rooks said, "Yes, I've taken EPO. It was essential to achieve a high placing overall in the classification. At the 1988 Tour de France, the Dutchman finished in second place overall, won the Mountains jersey and took first place on stage 12 to l'Alpe d'Huez. In 1989, he finished 8th in the overall classification and won another mountain stage. This was his third victory in the mountains. Rooks' additional victories in Liège-Bastogne-Liège in 1983 and the Amstel Gold Race in 1986 are among the highlights of his career. Between the years 1986 and 1989, he was a member of the PDM team. Subsequently, he rode for Panasonic, Buckler, Festina and TVM. Gert Jacobs and Mathieu Hermans, both from the Netherlands and also former cyclists of the same generation, are the other two riders who have admitted to using the substance. In addition, Hermans was victorious in stage 11 of the 1989 Tour de France, which took place from Luchon to Blagnac, as well as 10 stages of the Vuelta a España. So why do cyclists use EPO as doping? According to the findings of a unique study, cyclists who think that using blood doping to increase their racing speeds may be disappointed to find out that it does not significantly improve their performance. Düsseldorf, Germany, June 29, 2017. Training in advance of the start of the weekend's competition, along the road to the first stage of the Tour de France, a worker adorns a bridge with decorations, photographed by Christian Hartmann for Reuters. The findings of this study were published in the Journal of Lancet Hematology. While the drug recombinant human erythropoietin, also known as EPO, was found to improve high-intensity lab test scores, it had very little effect on endurance and road race performance. Endurance and road race performances were comparable for cyclists who were given EPO and those who were given a placebo. Doping, sometimes known as the use of performance-enhancing chemicals, is a big issue in many competitive sports throughout the world. For decades, professional cycling has been plagued by instances of cheating that have received a great deal of public attention. However, there is a dearth of reliable scientific evidence regarding the effects of forbidden substances, in part because it's impossible for researchers to test banned compounds on professional cyclists who are required to comply with anti-doping standards. In this study, the researchers recruited a total of 48 well-trained amateur male cyclists between the ages 18 and 50 for the purpose of conducting a clinical trial. During this test, half of the participants received weekly injections of EPO, while the other half received injections of a placebo for a total of 8 weeks. According to the researchers, the dosages utilized were in line with what is generally accepted as a standard procedure in the world of professional cycling. Because EPO stimulates the creation of red blood cells, some believe that using it will increase the delivery of oxygen to the muscles, which will in turn lead to improved performances. The cyclists were then put through a battery of tests designed to evaluate a variety of performance parameters in a variety of different ways. The first one was a ride with a very high intensity that took place in a laboratory and involved a ramp test. During this test, the pedaling resistance was increased every 5 minutes until the subject was completely exhausted. The second test was an endurance exercise that took place in a laboratory and lasted for 45 minutes. It was conducted at the highest power output possible. The third test took place 12 days after the last injections and consisted of a ride of 110 kilometers, 68 miles, followed by a road race of 21.5 kilometers up Mont Ventoux, which is frequently included in the Tour de France. We discovered that while EPO boosted performance in a laboratory setting on high-intensity tests, the differences mostly disappeared in endurance tests and were undetectable in a real-world cycling race, said Jules Heuberger, who co-led the study at the Center for Human Drug Research in the Netherlands. The Center for Human Drug Research is located in the Netherlands. According to him, the findings which contradict assertions made in certain sports, writing that EPO can have significant impacts, may make it less appealing for the players to explore blood doping. Does EPO really improve your performance as a cyclist? A new study says it might not be true. According to the findings of recent scientific studies, EPO may not be responsible for any improvement in cycling performance. Although the illegal drug is known to boost the amount of oxygen-carrying cells in the blood, a recent study has called into question whether or not it is genuinely beneficial to cyclists. For the purpose of the research project, 48 well-trained amateur cyclists from the Netherlands and Belgium volunteered to either receive EPO or a placebo over the course of 8 weeks. They were all riders of a decent standard and exceeded our defined power or weight criteria, said Adam Cohen, Chief Executive of the Center of Human Drug Research (CHDR) in Leiden, the Netherlands, which ran the trial in June 2016, but which had only just been published in the Lancet Hematology journal. The study opens in a new tab. They also had to quit the membership of their national organizations in order to ensure that they do not violate the anti-doping standards that are in place for the sport. The medicine was injected into half of the riders, while the other half received a placebo instead. Nobody did, and the researchers who were in charge of the study didn't even know what was being given to the participants. Because of its rigor, it has become the standard procedure in the field of pharmacology. We were unable to locate any other studies on EPO that had been conducted with the same level of rigor, explained Cohen. Every rider was required to make a weekly visit to the lab in order to perform a battery of endurance tests, including VO2 max, and provide blood samples. Until the experiment was completed, they were hidden away so that no one could use them to determine who among the participants had EPO circulating in their veins. Is it really that crucial to have a high VO2 max? Those who had been given EPO did better in the shorter, higher intensity tests. However, there was no difference in performance between the two groups when they carried out the longer 45 minutes indoor tests. After 8 weeks of training, they embarked on a ride of 110 kilometers in the month of June, which culminated over the blustery peak of Mont Ventoux. The results were stunning, showing that those who had been administered EPO climbed the peak at average of 17 seconds slower than those who had been given the placebo. According to Jules Huberger, who directed the study and gave an interview to the Associated Press, they couldn't feel the effect and we couldn't assess it either. Throughout the course of the experiment, cyclists were questioned and not a single one of them mentioned experiencing emotions of abnormally increased power or endurance. Therefore, it's possible that the effect of EPO is entirely in one's head. Because conducting research of this nature requires a significant financial investment, it has never been done before. We are a foundation and we have paid for it out of our own funds for the simple reason that we're curious. It has set us back around 500,000 euros, explained Cohen. That's how much a mass spectrometer costs in the anti-doping lab in Rio, the speaker said. Oliver Rabin, who is the science director for the World Anti-Doping Agency, stated that he had his doubts that the report will influence the strategy that the organization takes, but that he would read it with curiosity nonetheless. Rabin said that we would need significantly more than this. This will be met with a significant amount of skepticism from the scientific community. That's all for today. We sincerely hope that you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel to see more of our incredible videos. You can also watch our other videos that have been specially selected for you. Looking forward to seeing you in the next video.